everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Worldcraft Logistics Facebook Live. My name is Michelle and I work in the sales department.
Hi everyone, my name is Nancy and I'm part of the import service department.
Today we're going to be talking about a different topic. We're just going to briefly go through the importing process for ocean shipments. And Nancy here with the import customer service team is going to help us go through it. If you guys have any questions while watching, you can feel free to let us know.
Okay, so the first step that while importing, it's going to be to file ISF. And what is ISF? ISF is going to be the import security filing, and there are two documents that are needed for this, which are your 10+2 and the HBL that are provided by the supplier. One thing is that ISF does need to be filed 24 to 48 hours before your ETD.
So what are some risks, Nancy, that would happen, let's say, if either the customers are using a different agency or they're doing a different Incoterm and they don't have the 10+2 and HBL ready in time and their ISF is late? What would happen then?
So ISF is a must. We must file ISF even if it's late, but the risk that if it's late, then there's going to be, you're risking it to have a $5,000 fine. And not only that, in our company, we do charge a late ISF filing fee, which would be a $95.
And before I was working in the sales department, I did work for the customer import service team as well. And in my experience, there was a couple of late filings from, we have customers that we don't really do all of their shipping. We just handle maybe the clearance or the trucking. And although it wasn't common, there were some cases where some customers did get fined for the $5,000 late ISF filing. So it depends what term you're going with, but you have to make sure that you have those documents on time, just to avoid the large fee from customs, because it can happen. It's rare, but it can happen. So after the ISF, right, let's say hopefully it is filed on time, what would be the next step?
So then after that, one of our import service representatives will take your shipment and they will input it into our system. They'll create an arrival notice that is sent out to you, in which it tells you all your cargo details. The arrival notice will provide you with the ETA, the ETD, and all the details that you need to know about your cargo.
So for the arrival notice, right, is there another document that's provided or something that's requested when you send the arrival notice?
Yes, when we do send the arrival notice, we do request the invoice and the commercial invoice and the packing list, which we will need to clear customs. And these documents are important for you to provide them to us 5 days before the ETA, so we have time to, if anything needs to be amended, we can do it before we submit it to the customs.
So the invoice and packing list, your supplier or your manufacturer is supposed to provide these documents to you. You are able to do some edits on the packing list. Maybe if the commodity description is not as detailed, you will have to manually edit that, or some 3PL companies will require more details, such as the SKU on there for each product. So those are things that you as the importer or the customer can do, but we definitely do not recommend, and it is illegal to tamper with any of the product values on the commercial invoice. So of course, some people are tempted, or they want to save money on the duties, so they want to change the numbers, make the value go lower so they can save on the duties, but that's definitely not recommended. And if you were to get caught, that would be, of course, a huge issue that you don't want to go through. So although you can edit the packing list, the commercial invoice is something that you do not touch, and it should be directed from the supplier to your forwarder for customs clearance. So after you do that, what would be the next step?
So then after that, you won't really hear from us. You would hear back from us 5 days prior to the ETA, and the reason is we do send our broker the documents that are needed. We do send to clear customs. Our broker will provide us with the duty draft that after we would send to the customer so they can confirm, and if there's anything wrong with it before we finalize it, we make any arrangements to that.
So once you have all of these documents, when would you process the custom clearance for the ocean shipment?
So once the customer confirms the duty, that's the first step, and after the customer confirms the duty, then right after we do let our broker know that the duty has been confirmed. Our broker tends to file the entry on the day of the ETA.
On the day of the ETA?
Yes.
So what if the ETA is delayed? Do you delay the entry, or what happens then? Is there any major issues that needs to be done?
Usually if the ETA is gonna be delayed, we are notified before we do send to Clear Customs.
Okay.
It's always before and not after we send to Clear Customs.
Okay, so for the custom clearance, I know there can be some type of holds, right? So when would you notify the customer or the importer if there's any holds or issues with the custom clearance?
So once our broker does submit the claim, they will tell us right away. So they would let us know your shipment is held for exam, and then they will let us know further information once they know. So usually it's right when we submit the entry. And there's sometimes that it can be after, but that just depends on the cargo.
As an import customer service rep myself, I did go through special occasions where unfortunately the cargo was cleared. We received a notification from custom clearance, everything was ready to go, but then a couple of days later, customs does do more research or look more depth into the clearance, and they can put a hold. So that can happen. It is not very common, it's rare, but sometimes even though your shipment has been cleared, they can take it back and it can be put on hold, but like I said, it's not very common. So after customs clearance, it's processed, and let's say there's no holds, what would be the next step?
So then after that, we will generate an invoice that we would send along with the duty. One thing is that a lot of customers think that when we do send the duty attachment, they need to pay for it, but they really don't. This duty fees are already included in your invoice, so you don't have to pay twice for it. You just have to pay for the total amount that it's in your invoice. And then the 7501 form, we do send it just for your records, and you can just for your own records.
So even if, let's say, if you don't use our freight forwarding service or broker services, if you use another party, you do want to make sure that even though it can be DDP and they pay for your customs, that they give you this document so you can keep on file. It is illegal to mark up on the duties and taxes, so you want to make sure that what they're billing you or what you paid for is exactly what they're being charged for or they paid on your behalf. You want to make sure that they're not marking up on your duties or anything like that, so you want to request the 7501 form from your clearances. So after the customs clearance and the invoice is sent, what would be the final step?
The final step would be, it was just a waiting game. We do have to wait for the warehouse to make your cargo available, and this is where we have two different waiting times. One of them would be for your loose cargo. If it's a loose cargo, it does take 3 to 5 days for to unload off the vessel, and another 3 to 5 days to become available at the CFS. And what the CFS is, it's a container freight station. It's a warehouse where they unload the containers, they do palletize it, and they separate it according, because if it's a loose cargo, you are sharing the space with other consignees. And then once they do palletize it and it's ready for pickup, then it takes about a day or so for it to be delivered. It just depends on the availability of our driver. If we are notified that it's available for pickup later throughout the day, then we might leave it for the next day.
For the FCO and LCO, as you mentioned, the FCO is shorter and it can become available quicker than the LCO, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we do want to let you guys know that it also depends to what port you're shipping to. So in the US, there's major ports, right? And these ports, depending on what time of the year, they can be congested. And even though you ship FCL and you expect your cargo to become available faster than LCL, it can be delayed sometimes just because there's holidays, or like I said, if it's a major port like LA, Long Beach, it can be slower and there's long waiting times, and it can become a little bit longer wait, even though, like I said, it's FCL. So you do want to keep that in mind.
And just to add it, for the FCL, the terminals do require for us to make an appointment, so it just depends on when it might become available. Let's say it becomes available today, we cannot pick up right away, and we might have to pick up 2 or 3 days later. It just depends on the appointment that we do get. And then also keep in mind that sometimes those appointments we would have to reschedule, just because there are a lot of times where the terminal does close the area where your container is and we can't really get through, so then that would be another instance where we would have to reschedule your appointment.
Yeah, it's hard to understand the whole shipping scope when it's your first time, or you haven't done this. Maybe you shipped LCL but not FCL. Some terminals, they're pretty big, they're large, and they're receiving high volumes, so they close the area sometimes because they have way too many containers in the area. They're fixing something, construction something. So sometimes it can take a long time to even find your container. There's been times where the terminal lets us know, you know what, at the moment it's misplaced. We just don't know exactly what gate or in what space lot your container is at, so that can also cause delays. But it's nothing to be alarmed with. You know, the container is there, they're just trying to spot it, but that can happen as well. So once you get the delivery appointment, of course they would just pick it up, right? And then generally it will take 1 to 2 days to reach its final warehouse or destination. If it does come to our warehouse, we will notify you, and then we do have a system operations sheet that we can give to you and, you know, guide you if you have more questions. They can become a little bit complicated just because it is your first time to understand the whole receiving process, but this does depend to which warehouse it is going to, and if it's been your first time or if you've done this before. But that's it, right? Once it reaches the destination, there's no other importing steps done from there. Is there anything else you'd like to tell maybe first time customers or importers? Any tips that you'd like to give them so they can make this importing process smoother?
If you are working with us, we're here to help, so feel free to give us a call. Let us know, hey, I don't understand this, or what am I supposed to do? Just ask and we will help you. Also, make sure that if you're importing for the first time and you do know, to make sure that you have all the information, because there's sometimes where our customers want the cargo and it's urgent to them, but it is a process and it does take time. So just take time to talk to your freight forwarder, whoever it is, and just let them know how long or how their process is, so you can manage the time so your cargo gets here on time.
If you guys, like Nancy said, if you guys do have more questions, you can reach us. We are on Facebook, through our website. You can leave a contact form, messages, email us. But we will wrap up this video now. If you tuned in, thank you. If not, this video will be saved on our website. We will look forward to seeing you in our next video.